Thank you very much. Good afternoon and welcome to the Senate Committee on Government Affairs, and thank you to all of you who are joining us online. We appreciate your participation. Members, please remember to mute your microphone when you're not speaking, and will the Secretary please call the roll?
Vice Chair Orenshaw.
Here.
Senator Goca-Chia.
Here.
Senator Neal.
Here.
Senator Hansen.
Here.
Chair Don Daraloop.
Here. And please mark Senator Settlemyre present when he arrives. And thank you, members, for all being present today. Before we begin, I will just remind our audience, our virtual environment is open to you, and you can do this by signing on to the legislative website, Tenellis, and it will provide you with many ways to participate. So you just click that participate button and it will link you in. Just a note, while the meeting registration is required to participate, your testimony and public comment may be limited due to the time. So we'll have a period of comment at the end. Public comment will be at the very end. And remember, just as a reminder, that you'll be invited to speak about anything but the bills that we are about to hear. Today, the committee will be hearing 4 bills in the order shown on the agenda. 3 bills. And the first one is Senate Bill 294, and I will open the hearing on 294. This measure revises provisions governing collective bargaining by our local government. And Senator Cannizzaro, welcome to Government Affairs. We're happy to have you, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Nope. I'm on mute, just kidding. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's so great to be here with the Committee on Government Affairs, it being my first visit with you all this legislative session. So I appreciate you having me here today. All right, we'll get started. Thank you, Chair Don Daraloop and committee members. I'm here today to present to you Senate Bill 294. Along with me today is also Mr. Fred Horvath, who, Madam Chair, if it pleases you and the committee, I would appreciate allowing for him to give some testimony just as soon as I'm finished. And then he, I think, is also going to assist with questions from the committee as being someone who is a little more well-versed than I in some of the subject matter, if that is okay with you. For those of you here today, my name is Nicole Cannizzaro. I represent Senate District 6 in the northwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley, and I am pleased today to be here with you this afternoon to introduce Senate Bill 294, which makes revisions regarding collective bargaining between local government employers and employee organizations. Again, as I mentioned, we do have Fred Horvath, who is the treasurer for Teamsters Local 14 with us today, and he will be giving some testimony once I've completed mine, and then we will be able to stand ready for questions from members of the committee. By way of background, currently, if an organization that represents local government employees, other than educational support personnel, firefighters, police officers, and teachers, fails to resolve an issue in negotiating a collective bargaining agreement with an employer, the dispute can be submitted to an impartial fact finder. However, before doing so, the parties need to agree to make the recommendations of the fact finder on certain issues final and binding. When the local government employer and employee organization cannot agree, either party can request the formation of a panel to determine whether the findings and recommendations of the fact finder on certain issues will be final and binding. This bill repeals the provisions relating to such panels and provides that the findings and awards of the fact finder are final and binding on the parties. In labor disputes involving local government employers, Senate Bill 294 provides that unless the parties agree to make the findings of fact finder final and binding, the fact finder's report must include recommendations for settlement of the dispute in lieu of an award, and the findings and recommendations of the fact finder are not binding. Madam Chair, at this point, I would like to provide the members of the committee a brief overview of the substantive sections of the bill before turning it over to Mr. Horvath. Sections 1 and 2 repeal the provisions relating to the aforementioned panels and provide that the findings and award of the fact finder are binding on the parties. Section 3 makes the changes that are only applicable to labor disputes involving firefighters and police officers. Section 4 eliminates the authorization for expenditure of funds for expenses related to the panels. And Madam Chair, at this point, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Horvath to give his testimony before we stand ready for questions from the committee.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair Dondera-Loop and committee members. For the record, I'm Fred Horvath, and I am the Secretary Treasurer of Teamsters Local 14. I'm here today in an effort to bring consistency and efficiency to the collective bargaining process as defined in NRS 288. I've led collective bargaining processes across many areas. I represented management at Nevada Power Company, at General Motors Company, at Pacific Corp, Scottish Power, at the City of Henderson, and now working with Teamsters Local 14. In the interest of brevity and be direct, all employee groups governed by NRS 288, with the exception of one, have binding arbitration available to them if they are unable to reach a satisfactory conclusion among the parties. Police, firefighters, teachers, school support staff, and the 2019 State of Nevada employees have access to fact-finding and binding arbitration. County, local government, and other political subdivisions, employees not listed above are subject to a panel of 3 as defined in NRS 288-202. This panel consists of an attorney, an accountant, and these 2 individuals select a 3rd member who is either an attorney or an accountant. I believe Commissioner Bruce Snyder may be testifying. I will leave it to him and to describe the process and the challenges that exist in putting these panels together. Madam Chair and committee members, believe I'm uniquely qualified to offer some labor and management perspectives in this regard. 288 emphatically answers questions for police, firefighters, teachers, and support staff, and state employees, and the associated management of those organizations. Senate Bill 294 would ensure the same intellectual rigor applied to all groups governed by this process. Most important part of this process is that current fact finders are interest-based arbitrators. An interest-based arbitrator is someone who's been selected from the American Arbitration Association, the Federal Mediation Conciliation Service, and they're professionals in the area of interest arbitration, which is defined as the arbitration to resolve a collective bargaining agreement, a labor contract, or economic terms or conditions. Very different than discipline and those type of things. When the parties request the list of 7, they require people on the list have interest arbitration experience. This experience includes labor law and clearly established financial acumen with emphasis in public sector organizations. I cannot overstate the importance of this expertise. With all due respect to the panel of 3 members, there's no such requirement. Is it appropriate or fair for labor and management to have operating parameters and financial obligations determined by other than subject matter experts? I really don't think so. I know there's a lot of commentary around having others make decisions around collective bargaining, but I can't tell you how important it is from my chair, from both management and labor, to have a professional with the appropriate expertise making those kind of final decisions. The second modification is a proposal in 288 is to eliminate a duplicate process of both fact-finding and arbitration. Both processes are described in detail in NRS 288, and in fact, 288-200 subsection 5 allows the parties to agree to have fact-finding be binding. It is an incredibly inefficient process, in my humble opinion, our humble opinion, to do duplicate processes, particularly outside counsel and expert witnesses are involved. Expenses can easily reach $250,000 for an extended interest arbitration. 2019 legislature embraced this rationale when they provided collective bargaining rights for state employees and provided for arbitration only. Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to address you. I urge you to support SB 294 and be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Horvath. We appreciate your attendance here today, and thank you, Senator Canizero. I think we have a couple questions, and we'll start with Senator Neal. Did you want to go?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. OMG. Okay, Mr. Horvath, I have to ask a question because you're talking about the panel members that have the interest-based arbitration. That would be seven individuals. Is this bill contemplating replacing the existing number of the panel members with a number of 7? Because I
apologize. It wasn't very clear. So for everybody but police, fire, school teachers, they all have access to the American Arbitration Association, Federal Mediation Reconciliation. We do not. We being local government employees, county, there is a panel of 3 in the statute. A panel of 3 in the statute of an attorney and accountant and another attorney or accountant. That is the panel that we're trying to eliminate and just go with the professionals from the list of 7.
Got it. Okay, that's super helpful. So can I ask the second question then?
Sure.
So if you go to section 2, the strikeout in sub 6, help me understand, if you look at lines 23 through 28, which say that the panel should consider actions by the parties in previous fact-finding, best interest of the state and all of its citizens, and talk about the potential fiscal effect on, within, and outside of the political subdivision and danger and safety to people. Why are we striking that out? Even if you choose to go to the experts, it seems that this language is also pertinent to considerations that should be made for groups.
Subject to having the full act in front of me, Senator, I believe this is just redundant language that exists under the fact-finding guidance in 288, 201, 215, and 217.
Okay.
So it's just, this was specific to the panel that will no longer exist. The same parameters are dictated to the fact finders as well.
Okay, because I want to make sure that, if you're trying to get this other body, that those considerations I think matter because they're unique to Nevada. But if you go to page 5, section 10 in section 2, sub 10, it references section 6. So I don't know if that is a typo because section 6, the time period in section 6 is struck out. Or if I'm reading it, I don't, or if it's referencing the sub 6 on with the 45 days of the receipt of the report. It's not clear what that time period is referencing, except for the period prescribed by subsection 6, any time limit prescribed by the section. And there's 2 time limits in section 6. One is struck out, and then one is a new section 6 with 45 days.
I'll have to punt to LCD and hopefully clean this up.
So that is an error. That's a draft.
So,
Okay. Here, that's all of my questions.
Thank you very much. And that was one of my questions was I was looking at that subsection 10, where it said any time limit. And I was going to ask what if that meant any time limit or if there was actually some at some point that would end.
And Madam Chair, if I may, I believe that does reference on page 4 what would now be the renumbered version of the bill, the new sub 6, where you can see on line 17 on page 4 that says within 45 days after the receipt of the report from the fact finder, the governing body of the local employment employer shall hold a public meeting in accordance. And I believe that is the time period for which they're referring to. It could be extended, except as provided there.
Senator Cannizzaro, with your permission, I'll call a friend. I'll ask our legal counsel to weigh in with Ms. Clarkson. If you're available, could you weigh in on that, please?
Yes, for the record, this is Heidi Clarkson with the Legislative Council Bureau. So on page 3 of the bill, starting with line 11, the existing subsection 6 language is deleted. And then on page 4 of the bill, Senator Cannizzaro is correct that what is currently existing subsection 8 is changed to subsection 6. Therefore, on page 5 of the bill, when subsection 10 references subsection 6, it's referencing the new subsection 6 that is on page 4 of the bill that under existing law would be subsection 8.
And if that's not enough subsections for you, I would suggest the other thing is sometimes I look at the big printed bill instead of the small bill, and I know it's slightly, the page differences are there. Senator Neal, does that assist with your question?
Kind of. I mean, I guess the broader question that I'm trying to understand, it seems to remove the point where folks can agree when you have recommendations. And that time period is 30 days. And so the new subsection 6 says this is the report coming after the, I guess now the award. And so I'm just trying to understand, like, I need real life. Like, you need to walk me through, like, this is, if it happened today, what would we understand the collective bargaining process to look like with these changes? I need
to take a shot at that.
Horvath, can you help us out there?
Yeah, no, I would be. I'd be happy to. Again, this is not police, fire, teachers, support staff, or state employees, just everybody else, local government employees. What would happen is the parties would attempt to negotiate a contract and reach a voluntary agreement. If they are unable to do that, the Act provides for mediation and a report from the mediator within 30 days. If that is unsuccessful, you're off to fact-finding, and you use the fact-finding process. And with this bill, the fact-finder's decision is final and binding for this group of employees only. One thing I did not cover, and I was remiss in not doing so, in the current panel of 3, there is no time frame dictated for a decision as there is with police and fire, where there's a very clear 10-day mandate for decisions to take place. And there's actually real-life examples where the panel just couldn't bring themselves to make an ultimate decision and kind of send it back to the parties. And so the efficiency comes from, it does bring the process to an end. It brings it to an end with professionals making those decisions.
Oh, thanks, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Senator Neal. All right. Other additional questions? Senator Hansen.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Actually, I've got a bunch of questions on the part that Senator Neal was actually just talking about, because while admittedly it's more cumbersome to follow the current process, it seems there's substantial layers of checks and balances that are going to be eliminated with the elimination of section 2, lines 7 through 28. And while there is some additional language similar to what we're deleting in existing law, the big change is that when the fact finder under current law goes and presents it to the public body currently sees it as recommendations. With the sentence on section 2 lines, page 3, line 16, it says the award is final and binding on the parties. So even though you go back to the public body, currently you go back to the public body with recommendations from the panels. But now you're going back to the public body to basically say it's a done deal. Am I reading that correctly, Mr. Horvath?
It's not our intent to try and circumvent any safeguards. It is simply a matter of bringing the matter to closure at fact finding instead of this panel. Currently, the fact finder would do all of his work, make a recommendation, government body has 45 days to do it, and then you're off to the panel for another extended period of time. So,
I understand. You're trying to streamline it, but the way I look at it, while I'm glad you're streamlining it, from the perspective of local governments and the taxpayers, I kind of like some checks and balances built into the current system. So, yeah, I could see from your point, it'd be great to have to deal really with one fact finder or a small group of fact finders rather than having the fact finders reach a point, then have to go back to the public body. But again, what's absent in your new law, it seems to me, is any checks and balances that protect the taxpayers' interests in regards to the public bodies having substantial oversight of the process. So, but that's my concern, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think one of the things that was interesting, at least in my conversations that Mr. Horvath had discussed, because I think to Senator Hansen's point about there being the fact-finding process and then referral to a panel, was that the differences between what is ultimately determined at fact-finding, regardless of whether it's binding or not binding, and then what ends up happening at the panel often are the exact same result. And so I don't know if Mr. Horvath would want to elaborate on that, but to me, I thought that was compelling in that when we're talking about taxpayer dollars and how do you ensure we're getting to the right result without unnecessarily wasting taxpayer dollars, something that's not requiring for them to go through the process twice to ultimately come to the same decision would be a way in which we can assure the taxpayers that their dollars are being spent wisely. And I don't know if Mr. Horvath wanted to elaborate on that.
very recent example of exactly that with the city of Las Vegas, where they went through an extended process with their corrections officers to get to a fact-finding recommendation. The city chose not to embrace that. The city chose to expend dollars from their side and from the employee organization, and ended up at exactly the same place when the arbitrator was done.
I see you, Mr. Hansen. Senator Hansen, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, because while I'm glad you both agree that you could save some tax dollars, in some cases these panels tend to be redundant, it sounds like. But from a taxpayer perspective, I don't mind having a couple of layers that hoops you have to jump through, because the amount of dollars involved for the taxpayers is substantially larger than any savings we had by eliminating one of these steps. So to me, I mean, it's kind of a red herring to suggest that, well, it's actually in the taxpayer's interest to reduce some of the checks and balances that exist under current law. So just don't see that as a taxpayer savings in the type that the taxpayers would really want. If they're looking for savings, it's going to be on the big dollars involved in the salary and benefit packages that would be being negotiated in these type of arrangements. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Additional questions? Senator Gocochea, no questions? Okay. All right. No more questions. Senator Cannizzaro, unless you had additional comments, I will go ahead and go to support, opposition, and neutral. Okay. I will start with support and broadcasting. When you're ready, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. To testify in support of SB 294, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 247, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello, my name is Will Adler, Willadler, representing Silver State Government Relations, representing the Las Vegas City Employees Association. Las Vegas City Employees Association would like to add our names in support of this bill and all of its measures and what it wishes to do. We see that the bill has a few changes needed, and that when those are done, that it will provide a proper structure to reduce redundancy in the state of Nevada. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 577, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon. Chris Daly, D-A-L-Y, Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 120 years. NSEA affiliates negotiate 28 collective bargaining agreements across the state. We appreciate how important it is for collective bargaining, including fact-finding and binding arbitration, to be fair to all parties. We believe this is the best system to decide critical workplace issues and to continue labor peace. NSEA supports SB 294, revising provisions relating to collective bargaining between certain government employers and employee associations. We support the Teamsters Local 14 in their efforts to improve their collective bargaining process with local governments with fact-finding and binding arbitration that works for all parties. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 689, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and for the members of the committee. Tom, T-O-M, last name Dunn, D-U-N-N, District Vice President for the Professional Firefighters in Nevada. We are in support of SB 294, and we're going to give a ditto to everything else that's been currently said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
This is Kent Irvin, K-E-N-T-E-R-V-I-N, for the Nevada Faculty Alliance. We work to empower faculty to be fully engaged in our mission to help students succeed. We support SB 294 in solidarity with our local government union public worker colleagues, and because we believe that binding arbitration and fact-finding is the most efficient way for the parties to come to speedy resolution of issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
If you recently just joined us, we are currently in support on SB 294. To testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 796, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 796, please press star 6 now to unmute yourself.
Madam Chairwoman, member of the committee. Madam Chairman, member of the committee, for the record, Rusty McAllister, R-U-S-T-Y-M-C-A-L-L-I-S-T-E-R. I'm the Executive Secretary Treasurer for the Nevada State AFL-CIO, and we stand in support of SB 296. Madam Chair, members of the committee, this bill simply evens the playing field for all public employees. Certain groups have the ability to go to a binding fact finder, whereas local government employees do not. We represent a large number of those public employees. This just provides fairness. One of the comments that was made earlier with regards to allowing for stopgaps for the taxpayers. We certainly agree that everybody should have a chance. But what we have found over the course of time is that many local governments will use this process to delay and stall because they have nothing to lose. The longer they delay this process, the longer they keep from having to pay out on a contract. So if you can delay through the fact-finding process and or then go to a binding arbitration process, you just double the time of which to solve the contract with the same result at the end. You just didn't have to pay for it. So from that, Madam Chair, we believe that this saves time, we believe it solves fairness, or provides fairness, and it still allows for those groups, police, fire, other groups, to have both binding arbitration and fact-finding process available to them. So with that, Madam Chair, we're in support of SB 296.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you very much. And so we'll move to opposition.
To testify in opposition of SB 294, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 863. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Dagny Stapleton, Executive Director of NACO, DAGNY-STAPLETON. Nevada's counties are concerned about the proposal in this bill to make fact-finding final and binding. We believe that the current structure regarding fact-finding is preferable for local government employees. Final and binding fact-finding could create a disincentive for both sides to reach an agreement, as either side could perfunctorily go through the motions and then declare impasse in the hopes of getting a better outcome through arbitration. This is opposed to non-binding fact-finding, which incentivizes counties and labor to receive outside recommendations from fact-finding and then together consider these to reach an agreement voluntarily. We are concerned that if passed, SB 294 could lead to increased arbitration and arbitration costs and an overall increase in personnel costs. This could be true for all counties, both large and small, and for these reasons we do oppose and want to thank the committee for the opportunity to provide comments.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 300. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This is Mark Fiorentino. It's Fiorentino, and we represent Nye County, and we share the concerns that were just expressed by NACO, and just wanted to make sure that the record reflected that, and happy to work with the sponsor and the committee if there's any room for something in between. So thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
If you recently just joined us, we are currently in opposition of SB 294. To testify in opposition, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to neutral.
To testify neutral on SB 294, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 598, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Nicole Rourke, representing the city of Henderson. We are here in neutral today simply because we don't see the need for this bill. We appreciate the clarity that the bill provides on non-binding fact-finding for public safety in Section 3, but it is not apparent to us as to why Section 2 of the bill makes fact-finding now binding for non-public safety groups. If non-binding fact-finding is a good process for bargaining with public safety unions, then it should also be a sufficient tool to bargain with non-public safety unions. This tool creates an opportunity for one or both parties to appreciate the other party's proposal in a different light, or to agree to a compromise of a contested matter and reach a mutual resolution, which is really the ultimate goal for these negotiations. Thank you. I appreciate the committee's time this afternoon, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 000. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 000. Please press *6 now to unmute yourself. Thank you. Please begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Senate Committee on Government Affairs. My name is Bruce Snyder, BRUCESNYDER. I am the Commissioner of the Government Employee Management Relations Board, more commonly known as EMRB, which regulates labor relations between Nevada's governments and the unions that represent their employees. I want to speak today on SB 294 and in particular the issue of fact-finding, which has generated a number of questions today. The process of getting to a new contract starts with negotiations. If either party, after meeting so many times, believes that they are at impasse, they can declare an impasse. That starts an impasse process of mediation, and if the mediation does not work, then fact-finding. When the parties get to fact-finding, each party can then state whether or not the fact-finding should be final and binding, or advisory. If the two parties cannot agree if it is to be final and binding or advisory, then the case takes a detour to what is known as a fact-finding panel. It's unfortunate that the term fact-finding panel is used because it equates somewhat to the issue of fact-finding. The only purpose of a fact-finding panel is to determine whether an upcoming fact-finding is to be final and binding or whether it is to be only advisory. It does not decide what the terms of the new collective bargaining agreement are to be. Fact-finding panels are a seldom used feature. In my 7 years as commissioner, the EMRB has only had a few requests for the convening of a fact-finding panel, and only one such panel has actually met and rendered a decision. The law as written presumes a speedy convening of a fact-finding panel so the parties may actually get to the fact-finding itself. However, the process is anything but speedy, and this is likely why it is seldom requested, and when requested, seldom used in the end. The process, for example, involves contacting the State Bar of Nevada and the State Board of Accountancy to ask that each of these agencies submit 5 names of their members, which is done only after educating them as to why they are involved in a labor dispute. The names are then stricken by the parties until only one name remains on each list. I then contact the people who were selected. Often they are unwilling to serve or have a conflict. Finally, when 2 members have been finally selected, they must then appoint a 3rd member. Only until this is done can the agency then submit a work program to obtain the funds to pay the 3 panel members along with their travel. Then the 3 panel members must register as employees like any other member of a board in the state. This whole process takes a couple months. In the meantime, the fact-finding itself is put on hold along with resolution of a new contract. The EMRB takes no position on the policy issue of whether fact-finding should automatically be binding and thus there's no need for a fact-finding panel, or whether it should be as is. But if this committee believes it should not be automatically final and binding, and thus the need for such panels remains, I have a simple fix to resolve the cumbersome nature of selecting and funding such panels, and that is to simply use the existing EMRB board members as the fact-finding panel, as this is the only area in which the existing board is not authorized by law to sit and render a decision within its jurisdiction. Doing so would allow for the convening of the board as a fact-finding panel as soon as the Open Meetings Act would allow and would eliminate having to deal with other state agencies and obtaining funds as just mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Additional neutral testimony? Broadcasting, do we have any more neutral testimony?
Yes, we do. I'm sorry, Chair. Someone just joined. If you recently just joined us and you'd like to testify neutral on SB 294, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 237, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 237, please press star 6 now to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Marlene Lockard, Lockard, representing SEIU 1107. We are calling in support of the bill. I recognize this is the neutral testimony, but I was not able to get in the queue fast enough. So we support the comments previously made by those in support. Thank you.
Chair, you have no more callers neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. Senator Canizero, do you have any closing comments, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The one thing I would just sort of reiterate with respect to Senate Bill 294 that hopefully we have articulated properly to this committee is that this is a process proposed here that is very similar to the process used by not only state employees, but by other public employee sectors, and will, in fact, I think, make for a clearer process. As you heard, just as an explanation from the EMRB, from Commissioner Snyder, is that this is not something that is utilized. It is something that is costly and very time consuming. And I think that this provides a much clearer pathway forward for the resolution of those negotiations where needed. And so I just wanted to, again, thank the committee and thank you, Madam Chair, for having me today. We'll definitely reach out to all of the folks who have voiced their comments and concerns over the bill and see if we can find some resolution. But thank you again for having us today, and I appreciate the time.
You're very welcome, and thank you for joining us. And with that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 294, and I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 227. This makes various changes relating to the regulation of fireworks. And Vice Chair Orenshaw, when you are ready, please proceed. And Secretary, before I forget, Senator Settlemyer has joined us, so please mark him present, not president, Mr. Settlemyer. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair Don Darrow Loop and members of the Committee on Government Affairs. For the record, James Orenshaw. I represent State Senate District 21. That's parts of Henderson and unincorporated Clark County. Thank you for hearing Senate Bill 227 today. Fireworks are an exciting part of celebrations in our country, not the least of which is Independence Day. However, according to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, on average, 280 people go to the emergency room with firework-related injuries in the month around July 4th, daily. Our state fire marshal here in Nevada is tasked with enforcing all laws and adopting regulations relating to the storage and use of fireworks. That sounds simple and straightforward if it ended there, but I'd like to provide some brief background on other existing laws before explaining why I am proposing Senate Bill 227. Currently, the Board of Directors of a county fire protection district and the Board of Fire Commissioners are required to adopt and enforce all rules and regulations necessary for the administration and government of the county fire protection district. The Board of County Commissioners organizing each county fire protection district is ex officio the governing body of each such district and is known as the Board of Fire Commissioners when acting in this capacity. A Board of County Commissioners and a City Council are authorized to create a district for a fire department and to organize, regulate, and maintain a fire department respectively. A board of county commissioners is also authorized under existing law to pass ordinances concerning the sale, use, storage, and possession of fireworks. While the town board or board of county commissioners is authorized to regulate the storage of gunpowder and other explosives or combustible materials. Senate Bill 227 provides consistency and a minimum standard for any regulation or ordinance related to fireworks and combustibles to ensure public safety across all levels of state and local government. Sections 1, 2, 5 through 7, and Section 9 require and authorize these governmental entities that I mentioned earlier to regulate or adopt ordinances concerning the manufacture, sale, use, storage, and possession of fireworks, so long as those regulations and ordinances are at least as stringent as the regulations concerning fireworks that are adopted by the Nevada State Fire Marshal. This language is consistently applied to the various governmental entities throughout the bill. Section 8 of the bill adds this authority to the governing body of an incorporated city. These sections, as well as Section 3, include language also applying to these entities, specifying that if someone who stores or uses fireworks in violation of existing law or regulations that are administered by the state fire marshal, that they would be subject to reimburse that state fire marshal or the appropriate governmental entity for the direct and indirect costs resulting from such a violation. This would include the costs associated with any investigation into such violation, suppressing a fire resulting from the sale, storage, or use of such fireworks, and the confiscation and disposal of fireworks sold, stored, or used in violation of existing laws or regulations. The bill further authorizes the state fire marshal and certain agencies of state and local government to institute a legal proceeding to enforce these provisions. Chair, we certainly have heard a lot of testimony this year about some of the incidents that have been originated with fireworks in some of our counties, whether they be reports of property fires down in southern Nevada or of wildland fires in the northern part of our state. And Senate Bill 227 is a measure aimed at public safety, aimed at trying to bring uniformity and a minimum standard as to what kind of fireworks would be permitted. Certainly, if a county wanted to go farther and to not allow fireworks, that would be within the purview of the bill. The effective date of the bill at the very last page is October 1 of the following year. And so that is meant to address any concerns that had been relayed to me. I do believe that there are some potential amendments that I discussed with the fire marshal, and with your permission, Chair, I'd like to turn it over to former Assemblywoman Vaughn Chowning, who is the real genesis of this idea, and then I'm happy to answer any questions, Chair.
Thank you very much. And Assemblywoman Chowning, if you would like to jump in here, you are welcome to join us, please. We can see you, but we cannot hear you.
Okay, now.
There you go. We can see you and hear you. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very, very much. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Government Affairs Committee. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you today. I am former Assemblywoman of District 28, and for many terms, I did address this important issue. And the issue is no less relevant today than it was many, many years ago. In Nevada, we still do not have a state fireworks control law. We are the only state in all of our United States to not have a uniform law. The result of that is that we, especially in Clark County, continue to not be able to enjoy Independence Day, the 4th of July. Our state is a county option rule. In northern Nevada, almost all of the counties do not allow any type of sale or use of fireworks. But in southern Nevada, in Nye County, they are allowed to sell year-round dangerous, explosive, exploding projectiles, along with firecrackers, Safe and Sane fireworks also. Sometimes they do sell sparklers and Safe and Sane. But they also sell mostly they sell the exploding dangerous fireworks. The minute someone purchases them in Nye County, if they cross over into Clark County, the purchases that they have made are illegal to use. If they cross over into our neighboring state of California, they're also illegal to use. That makes it a very, very delicate, difficult situation. I, of course, am speaking on behalf of Clark County because we are the ones that year after year after year have to endure the terrible, terrible time of which should be a nice holiday of the 4th of July. The explosions are deafening, which are of great danger, of great detriment to our veterans with PTSD and also to our pets. And the explosions also happen in our streets. The skyrockets go onto our roofs. We cannot leave our homes. We have to have a hose with water to make sure that our homes don't burn down. So you tell me, how is that able to enjoy our holiday? Now, many, many years ago, we only had Safe and Sane fireworks. We did not have any of the dangerous exploding fireworks in our county. So we were able to enjoy the holiday. And to this day, if we only had Safe and Sane fireworks, that would be a much safer alternative to be able to enjoy our holiday. I do support Safe and Sane fireworks. I do support the commercial display because they are regulated and they are insured. But I do not support the sale or use of these aerial, dangerous, explosive projectiles that are making our neighborhoods unsafe. So please help us to be able to enjoy our holiday and give our holiday back to us. And please support this legislation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Orenshaw, did you have anything else to say before we go to committee questions?
Your Honor, I know that, Your Honor, Chair, Terry Taylor, who has been an arson investigator for many, many years, has a wealth of experience. I believe he's on the phone, and he may have some more background. I don't know if it's your preference to have him speak now or later. He might be able to give a little more background, but I'm happy to answer questions whenever it's your pleasure, Chair.
Let's go ahead and go to questions, and then if we need additional information, we'll move on. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Committee, any questions, please?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Senator Neal, go ahead, and we'll follow up with Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I had a question, of course, on indirect and direct cost, which is on, well, it's all throughout the bill. So on page 4, it looks like the indirect and indirect costs could roll in the cost of a legal proceeding, because on line 6, sub B, well, it's C3, it says the district may institute a legal proceeding to enforce the provisions of the reg. Is that something that you're going to roll into the costs and basically have someone paying for the legal costs for, I'm assuming, illegal fireworks. And then there's a part 2.
Thank you, Chair. To you and through you, to Senator Neal, I believe that would be a potential cost if illegal fireworks have been found. And certainly I know that we've got some experts on the line who might be able to provide some more information in terms of, I believe that our state fire marshal is here to testify in neutral on the measure, but I think he might be able to give a little more background, Chair, with your permission, as to the kind of efforts that go into some of these investigations. Some of them I understand are very lengthy and very detailed in terms of trying to find the illegal fireworks where they're not permitted in certain counties.
Please go ahead.
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I am Mike Dezak, and I am your state fire marshal, and I'm here to try to help answer any questions. I'm certainly, again, not the author of the bill, but on certain topics I can help out. I've been with the fire marshal for 20 years. We've seen fireworks legal and illegal throughout my career. I was the investigations chief, and I was lucky enough that we didn't have to go to any legal route to deal with it, like a civil suit or anything. And I think the clarity there is to say it's going to cost the state money, or the city or the county is going to cost them money to do the investigation. You might need expert witnesses. You have the confiscation. You have the disposal if it's determined. You have the storage. You have to find a place to store some of these, and depending on the amounts and the quantities, can be fairly substantial.
Madam Chair, can I ask my part 2 to the fire marshal?
Please go ahead, Senator Neal.
So my question on it spells out the direct and indirect costs, but my huge concern is the dollar amount to this, because it says without limitation. Why would the benefits for employees be rolled into this? And then also the interstate compact or any other agreement for firefighting support rolled into the cost that you would attribute to an offender. That it seems excessive, because that's not a cost that anyone contemplates, nor is it necessarily triggered by an act that may have happened in a city.
And Chair, to you and through to Senator Neal, the goal here was to try and make sure that the costs can be recovered, that when fireworks that are not legal in a certain county are brought into that county, that this bill would look at civil fines and at recovering the costs as the penalty, and that those costs, which sometimes can be very hefty, would be recovered. And I'll happy to turn it over to the chief if there's any further explanation you'd like to give.
Yes, Madam Chair, or through the chair to Senator Neal. I did not. I didn't author the bill. Any costs that we can get, you really would have to prove that you encountered those anyway. It's my understanding looking at it. So I don't think it's unfair to say we should be able to, whatever it costs us to get the investigation on, to get whatever, if it's a civil matter, if it's a criminal matter, to get that all hashed out. I don't think you could make anything up. You have to just show that, hey, we incurred the costs for this. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Hansen, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question goes to section 1, number 4 on page 4 concerning the Indian reservations and colonies. Does this regulation require the Indian colonies to only sell to Indians, or does it make it open like it is currently where the Indians sell to anybody?
To you and through you, Chair, to Senator Hansen. With my discussions with our legal division, I've been told that there is no jurisdiction that we can have over what our friends on the native lands can sell. So what I have been told is that some states have entered into compacts or treaties with some of the Indian nations to try to restrict sales of fireworks, but that through an act of the NRS, that's not something that can be accomplished. So no, I don't believe there's any restriction in terms of what can be sold on Indian lands that we can accomplish through NRS.
Okay, well, that's kind of what I thought, honestly. And the reason I brought it up is I represent about, at least 10 different Indian colonies and reservations, Pyramid Lake, Shures, and they all sell fireworks. And the reason that's critical is because in the northern counties, while several counties have in fact outlawed it, most of the counties have full, any person that wants fireworks, get them right away. Just like if you guys have seen, like cigarette sales, anywhere where you have an Indian colony or Indian anything, frankly, they can sell all sorts of things. And the real problem I've got is in Lander County, which I represent, they have legalized that. And even if you took their right away to do that, right in the heart of Battle Mountain is an Indian colony that sells fireworks. So when you restrict, if you were to pass this law, all you would really be doing is restricting anybody that's not an Indian from being able to compete and have an opportunity to have a fireworks store. One of the biggest fireworks stores in Nevada is, in fact, in Battle Mountain. So, and also, as far as the northern areas, you have Washoe County with Pyramid Lake Tribe, who sells fireworks. You've got Mineral County, which has fireworks sold at the Shures Indian Reservation area. And then you've got in Lander County, you've got the Indian colony, they're selling them. And so the only person in this whole bill that you affect in the north, from what I can tell, is that little store in Battle Mountain where a guy who's not an Indian sells fireworks. And again, anybody in Nevada who has any interest in the north who wants to buy some fireworks could do it at any Indian place and still have the exact same problems that we supposedly are going to fix by passing this bill. So while I think the intention is good, I think it just ignores the reality that as long as we allow the sovereignty of the Indian nations to sell their own fireworks, which they do under their sovereignty, you're not going to really restrict or help anything by restricting the county citizens who also want to, for example, in Lander County. So while I respect the intent of the bill, I think that as long as we have the Indian nations being able to do it, it doesn't make sense to try to restrict the counties and let them have their own county options and continue to do like they do in Lander County. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Madam Chair, may I briefly respond? Thank you. To you and through you to Senator Hansen. Certainly the way I agree with everything you say. However, I believe that Senate Bill 227 would be a first step in terms of trying to ensure that Nevadans' safety is a priority. Fireworks are great in the hands of certain fireworks in the hands of professionals who know how to safely handle them. And this bill would set a minimum safe and sane standard. My vision would be that if Senate Bill 227 is enacted, then little by little, the state and local governments could certainly work on compacts and treaties with the Indian nations trying to come to agreements. I believe that's happened in other parts of the country. I've heard that there have been talks here in Nevada. And yes, that will take some time because they are sovereign nations. But I believe that the first step would be Nevada setting the standard that safe and sane fireworks would be the minimum standard, and that the non-safe and sane fireworks would only be considered safe in the hands of professionals for professional displays. So I certainly believe that would be the next step after enactment of a statewide uniform fireworks safety law.
Thank you. Senator Gocochea, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just need to clear up and start back through this. Just the point that Senator Orenshaw was just making, if in fact they were purchased from a sovereign nation, the way I read the bill, then at the point that person carried those outside the jurisdiction of that sovereign nation, then they would be in line for all the direct and indirect costs that could have been brought forward by Chief Dizak and the Fire Marshal's office. And I'm concerned also in those areas, whether it be Battle Mountain or Pahrump, where there are people selling these fireworks, at the point, it is legal in Nye County, at the point someone from Clark County buys some fireworks, let's say in Pahrump, then does that fall to the person, the direct and indirect cost, do they fall to the person that sold them the fireworks or the person that actually purchases and leaves the property with them?
To you and through you, Chair, to Senator Gokachia, my intent with the bill is that the fine would be on the person who brings them into the county, that would be the person who's either in possession or who's using them. So that would be dependent on the investigation if this bill became law. And I could certainly turn it over, I think, either to our state fire marshal or to I believe we've got the arson investigator on the line as well, but that's my intent.
Okay, and I'm glad to get that on the record because I am concerned at the point that you did say the fire marshal or the arson investigator determined that the cause of this fire was caused by illegal fireworks that in fact were purchased by this person from a jurisdiction outside of, say, Clark County, and ultimately that would roll back to that person that sold them, whether it was in Pahrump or Battle Mountain. Maybe one of the other gentlemen could respond to that.
And to you and through you, Chair, to Senator Gokachia, that's certainly not my intent. However, if Senate Bill 227 was enacted, there would be a statewide uniform fireworks law. It's only safe and sane or a stronger fireworks law set by county standard. Again, the Native American nations, they're sovereign, so state law could not affect those, but their state law would be uniform. So anyone in possession would be subject to this civil fine and the recovery of costs.
Thank you for that clarification, sir.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Orenshaw. Additional questions from the committee? Senator Hansen, did you raise your hand or were you just, okay. All right. Well, with that, Vice Chair Orenshaw, I don't see any additional questions. If you don't have any additional information that we need to hear, we may go to our public testimony of support.
That would be great, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Broadcasting, would you go to support, please?
Absolutely, Chair. To testify in support of SB 227, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 415. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, this is Jeff Dixon. That's Juliet X Echo Foxtrot Delta Indigo X-Ray Oscar November. I am the Nevada State Director for the Humane Society of the United States. We're the nation's largest and most effective animal protection organization, and we support policies that protect wildlife habitat, honor the human-animal bond, respond to the needs of animal control and sheltering professionals, and which supports the 5 freedoms. A set of animal welfare standards adapted by the Association of Shelter Veterinarians. And SB 227 does each of these, and for that reason, we urge each member to vote to pass this important bill. SB 227 promotes freedom from fear and distress. Around every Independence Day and New Year's Eve, there's a spike in missing pets directly attributable to fireworks. Pet owners are responsible for ensuring that their animals are both confined within their property and microchipped or wearing tags. However, when an animal feels threatened, their fight or flight response may lead them to escape their home and property. When successful, they are then at risk of depredation, being hit by a moving vehicle, or never being reunited with their human guardian. If they are found, they are an additional burden to already understaffed animal control agencies and space-constrained animal shelters. Even when they don't escape, fear induced by fireworks can cause animals to become aggressive, to harm themselves, to eliminate inappropriately, vomit, or go into hiding. In short, fireworks place externalities
on animals, neighboring households, and publicly funded animal professionals and facilities. Responsive governments should have the power to consider and address the burden on pets, their owners, animal control officers, and shelters caused by fireworks. And they should also consider the risk to wildlife habitat caused by the same. SB 227, again, we feel does both, and we therefore stand with pets, their humans, and the professionals tasked with ensuring their welfare and asking that SB 227 be enacted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 911. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 911. Please press *6 now to unmute yourself. Thank you. Please begin.
Madam Chair and committee members, I am Karen Lane, KarenLayne, past president of the Las Vegas Valley Humane Society, and I have been doing animal rescue work as a volunteer since 1992. I only want to indicate my support for previous speakers, former Assemblywoman Vaughn Chowning and also Jeff Dixon with HSUS, to talk about the damage caused by fireworks on animals. We've seen this over my time in doing rescue. I have seen this time and time again in the Las Vegas Valley. It spoofs horses and dogs as well as other animals. And as Mr. Dixon has already pointed out, many dogs are lost from their homes during this time period. The last figures I heard from the Animal Foundation, which only covers the city of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and unincorporated Clark County, were from 2019. And that was that more than 500 dogs were picked up by animal control in the days after July 4th, but only about 10% of those dogs were returned to their owners. Many of my friends who are dog owners don't leave their animals at home. And as a former owner of a dog, Ginger, who was terrified of the fireworks, I will have to tell you that I turned up every TV in the house and even provided tranquilizers, and nothing would help this dog. That it was a terrible situation. I'd also point out that Las Vegas Valley is home to more than 2 million people now. It's a large metropolitan area, and I will personally testify to the fact that July 4th is absolutely terrifying. It's unbelievable the amount of rockets that you see overhead. It's absolutely crazy. So I just want to also support SB 227. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
If you recently just joined us, we are currently in support of SB 227. To testify in support, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 282. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Verna Mendez. That is Verna, last name Mandez. I am the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League, and I'm here in support of SB 227. Around 90% of wildfires in the United States are caused by over 90% of wildfires in the United States are human-caused, and illegal fireworks are a common culprit. Human-caused fireworks combined with climate change make the wets hotter, drier, and are leading to larger and even more intense wildfires. Last year's fire season set a new record in terms of geographic scale, fire intensity, and rates of the spread. In 2020 alone, humans caused over 540 wildfires in Nevada that was burning over 222,000 acres. We know that these wildfires have disastrous impacts to the natural areas and wildlife habitats, and the population is affected from the smoke, and the smoke is very hazardous to our health. Senate Bill 227 will better regulate fireworks in our state and will hopefully lead to less wildfires. We'd like to thank Senator Orenshaw for bringing this bill forward, and we urge the committee support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Chair, you have no more callers left in support at this time.
Thank you very much. And would we please move to opposition?
Testify in opposition of SB 227. Please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 300. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This is Mark Fiorentino again. That's Fiorentino. Testifying today on behalf of both Nye County and Red Apple Fireworks. I know that you've received information from both of those entities regarding the impact that SB 227 will have on them, so I'll be brief and summarize. SB 227 imposes a substantial cost on the state to implement. According to the current fiscal note, that might approach $650,000. That's a substantial cost at a time when we're all struggling to find ways to fund some of Nevada's basic needs. And frankly, the end result will be just to devastate a number of small Nevada-based businesses and put probably hundreds of people out of work. At the same time, you're likely to eliminate up to almost $500,000 a year in revenue that Nye County currently receives from these businesses. That's revenue that the county can ill afford to lose and will have probably little to no capacity to replace. And I would submit to you that will not result in any measurable impact on safety. As Senator Hansen pointed out, really what you're going to do is shift sales of these fireworks to the black market and to the tribal nations who will be exempt from the laws. Now, having said all that, both of my clients fully support and understand the need for more education and more enforcement. You'll remember that I testified in your committee on SB4, and I said the same thing, and I'll say it again. We remain committed to working with Senator Orenshaw, with the committee and other stakeholders to improve capacity in these areas in enforcement and education. And we're imploring the committee to do that, to take that route, because it's far more effective to address the concerns that have been raised today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 266. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, my name is Dan Peart with Phantom Fireworks, P-E-A-R-T. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Daniel Peart with Phantom Fireworks, and thank you for the opportunity to present our comments to you on Senate Bill 227. While our company has several bills with SB 227, I'd like to focus primarily on Section 477.030, subsection 2, which gives the State Fire Marshal the unrestricted and unchecked authority to dictate statewide policy changes typically reserved for the legislative process. This is especially troubling in that it would constitute a 20-plus year policy reversal without the need for a public hearing or a voting process. This is not how democracy was meant to work. Phantom Fireworks has operated in Nevada for 19 years, gone through 2 renovations and expansions, and we are currently planning another. We've been a good corporate citizen, supporting our community leaders and regulators. We've enjoyed a positive and productive relationship with our local government, and we have supported local initiatives such as hosting a Halloween trunk or treat for area children each of the last 7 years. We've spent millions of dollars investing in our business and community and created more than 1,000 jobs during our time in Nevada. The thought of being pushed out by the will of a single person is at best unfair, and at worst, it is a perversion of the policy process. Phantom, as well as other Nye County fireworks retailers, have reached out to the State Fire Marshal, various Clark County Fire Services, and the Nevada Fire Prevention Association in an attempt to address the concerns of Clark County. We've had 2 productive Zoom conferences where during the last conference, the Nevada Fire Protection Association agreed to take the issue and some of the suggestions to their committee for further discussion on various mitigation proposals. We have great interest and motivation to work with Clark County, just as we have successfully worked with Nye County for years. Instead, Senate Bill 227 disincentivizes this effort in an attempt to eliminate the long-existing fireworks business while driving consumer demand to, as mentioned, the black market, as well as the tribal lands, with what hope for any such collaborative response? We strongly urge the committee to vote no on Senate Bill 227 for the simple reason that this is not how the policy process was meant to work. Below, I've listed a number of Nevada-based businesses that Phantom has a long-standing relationship with that also urge you to vote no and do the same. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 795. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, my name is Gina Wilson, GINA-WILSON. I've enjoyed being a full-time employee with Red Apple Fireworks for the past 10 years. I don't think there is another business in Pahrump that I can earn as much as I do here. I have full coverage health insurance where my employer pays 75% of. I have a 401k started. I have received a pay raise along with bonuses every year. I am only 28 years old and was able to become a homeowner because of a job at Red Apple Fireworks. One of Red Apple Fireworks' top priorities is to educate our customers on the safety and best practices to use fireworks to ensure they are making a well-educated purchase. Because SB 227 would hurt our company and our ability to earn a living and would hurt my coworkers' ability to make a living, I would request you vote no on SB 227. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 453. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jeremy Smith, JEREMY SMITH. I have been a full-time employee now with Red Apple Fireworks for 3 years. My passion for fireworks is great, and at every time I get to speak with a customer, I educate them on the safety of the fireworks. SB 27 will hurt our company and the ability to earn a living. I, too, have been able to purchase a home last year, and being in my 40s, I wouldn't be able to find a job like Red Apple in this town or neighboring towns. Red Apple does provide a very generous health insurance. Again, 75% of it they pay. We hire hundreds of local teams every year for seasonal work. You will take that away from those teams if you vote on SB 27. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 781. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 781. Please press *6 now to unmute yourself. Thank you. Please begin.
Thank you, Chair Don Darrell Loop and members of the Senate Government Affairs Committee. For the record, Chris Ferrari, Ferrari, here on behalf of D&T Imports in opposition to Senate Bill 227. D&T is a local company named after 2 friends who went into business, Doug and Tim, and they have done a tremendous amount for the county with their operations. They have also identified successful ways to work with local governments, creating what they call the shoot site there in Pahrump. If you've ever been there, you're probably familiar with it. There's a great community partnership developed over many years And unfortunately, Senate Bill 227 would push these decisions up to the state level and disincent the ability of local government to work with businesses. Additionally, Senate Bill 227 proposes at page 8, line 10, that only fireworks certified by the American Fireworks Standards Laboratory, also known as the AFSL, can be sold in Nevada. The AFSL is a private corporation, one of several who test fireworks. They are not the sole representative of industry safety standards, and passage of that language is the equivalent of adding to statute that all shoes sold in the state of Nevada be certified by Nike. D&T is also embarking on one of the most significant economic development projects in Nye County, part of which will be expanding its fireworks operation, but it's also going to include housing, retail, etc. And they are underway with earthwork and other. You'll see on Nellis a letter in opposition to this measure from just some of their contractors, but they include landscapers, engineers, architects, contractors, and a whole slew of different folks from both Nye and Clark counties. So creating a monopoly, limiting local government and private sector interaction, and harming the economy are not positive measures of legislation, and for those reasons we oppose Senate Bill 227. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 635. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Dondero Loop and the members of the Senate Government Affairs Committee. My name is Jenny Sartin, Jenney Sartin. I am the CEO of the Front Valley Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Chamber and the businesses of Nye County, I'm speaking today in opposition of SB 227. Please allow me to be direct. While not diminishing the importance of safety and concern for all of our pets, at first glance, SB 227 appears to be an effort to eliminate healthy competition in the Nevada fireworks industry under the ruse of safety. The fireworks companies in our community have worked with local government and law enforcement and proactively reached out to state and local fire administrators to open lines of communication on how they can partner with our community to demonstrate a shared concern and interest in safety. And as already called to your attention, SB 227 proposes that only fireworks certified by the American Fireworks Standard Laboratory, or AFSL, can be sold in Nevada. And as already pointed out to you, please note that AFSL is a private corporation, and they do not represent the industry safety standards as a whole. Passage of this non-competitive language is the equivalent of adding to a statute a law which states that all cars sold in the state of Nevada must be certified by Ford Motor Company. And additionally, as written, it's the equivalent of me going to Walmart, buying a bag of potato chips, having a choking incident, and now being told that I can go sue Walmart because how dare they sell me a bag of potato chips. The companies with stores in Pahrump area are good community members. The employees live and work here. The companies give back to the community in more ways than just contributing a $500,000 in tax revenue a year to the county. At a time when we're seeing an unprecedented number of restaurants and other businesses closing, we ask that you do not add to the burden of our community by destroying the competitiveness of these firework businesses and closing the doors on yet another business. With all due respect, we ask you to please reject SB 227. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
If you've recently just joined us, we are currently in opposition of SB 227. To testify in opposition, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 091, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Dondero Loop and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tim McCoy. That's Timckoy. and I am in opposition of SB 227. I am the co-owner of D&T Imports, Inc. in Pahrump, Nevada. We are a small business that started in 2003. We employ 14 full-time employees and over 100 seasonal employees. Over the years, we created our own product line, and we sell retail and wholesale. We distribute our product across the United States. SB 227 would change what consumer fireworks that could be sold, and as a result, put us out of business. In the last 15 years, more and more states across the nation are changing laws to allow full line of consumer fireworks, the same fireworks as what we sell in Nye County. These states either sold only fountains and sparklers in the past or had no fireworks at all. These states we see are declining in injuries and in declining in people trying to make their own fireworks since they opened to full line fireworks. My business partner and I are in the development stage of an 80-acre shopping center in Pahrump. We are currently working with Nye County and the town of Pahrump. This would be the largest shopping center in Nye County. With all 3 phases done on this shopping center, would employ over 1,000 people that we estimate and bring in 30 to 40 new businesses. The passage of this bill would stop this project in its tracks. Over the past few months, Pahrump fireworks companies reached out to Clark County and Las Vegas Fire Department. We want to build a corporate partnership and better educate and promote safety to the consumers. Pahrump has a launch site in the town of Pahrump that is controlled by the town. In our conversations with Clark County and Las Vegas Fire, we suggested that we vendors would, within reason, contribute to doing public safety service announcements to, again, better educate the consumers of fireworks and their use. In conclusion, I am in opposition of SB 227. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 188. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 188. Please press *6 now to unmute yourself. Caller with the last 3 digits of 188. You have 2 minutes. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Herminia Jones. First name is Herminia. Last name is Jones, Jones. I'm calling as I work for D&T Imports here in Las Vegas as a partner in working with Blackjack Fireworks and Area 51. I have seen a support for the town of Pahrump, a support for its employees, a support for the entire state of Nevada. The company has geared towards building this shopping center that is now being established to bring in work and to bring in shops for the community and to stimulate the economy. These are things that, if this bill were to pass, all of that would come to an end. And that, I think, is very unfortunate in the economic growth that we're trying to establish even right now in this day and age. We want to make sure that the town of Pahrump is successful. We want to make sure that the surrounding cities around us and the counties are well-versed and educated, are aware on how to take care and prepare themselves for firework industry and the stores that are operating. To have them turn to a black market or the reservations, we're just setting ourselves up for failure. And I don't think that that should be the way that we should go in this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next caller, please.
Chair, you have no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. Then we will go to neutral.
To testify neutral on SB 227, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 247, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello, my name is Will Adler, Willadler. I am here representing the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe. Pyramid Lake would like to call in neutral on this bill for the fact that Senator Orenshaw did state that this would leave them out of it as a neutral party and would not impact them or their means of acquiring fireworks directly. Thank you very much.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 739, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Joanna Jacob, JOANNA-JACOB, on behalf of Clark County. We are testifying in neutral on Senate Bill 227, partly because we have brought our own bill to this committee. Earlier this session, you heard about our concerns from Clark County about the impacts that we're seeing in our community, including 43 total fireworks incidents that our Clark County Fire had to respond to. There was a note about trying to plan for the impacts in Clark County. That is what we set up with our iSpy tool that we detailed to the committee earlier that helps us to plan our enforcement efforts. The number of reports coming into that tool are increasing from 16,541 in 2019 to 22,559 in 2020. I know you already sat through our presentation, so you're well aware with our concerns. The reason that we're neutral, Madam Chair, is because we do allow safe and sane fireworks in Clark County. That is determined by a local process and testing. We define dangerous fireworks also in our Clark County code. We would have to work out how a state standard would impact our local standard. This is something that we have spent a lot of time on, and the regulation of safe and sane products in Clark County undergo a testing process. Every year they must meet certain labeling requirements and things that we do to ensure that there's clarity for our community. That is something that we do at the county level. We are in support of stronger enforcement. That's why we asked for our bill, because we do need some assistance, and I'm happy to hear the testimony here and everybody who would like to partner with us on that. We are committed to working with Senator Orenshaw and the stakeholders on this bill as well. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 337, please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello, my name is Regina Toney. That is REGINA TONEY. And for the record, I strongly oppose this bill. The queue was cut off before I had a chance to speak, and I want to state my piece. Again, I strongly oppose this bill. I am blessed. I am actually employed with D&T Imports, and I am blessed to be employed at this time, especially in the wake of COVID. Again, I am especially blessed to have an employer, who pays 100% of my medical bills and health care, myself as well as my coworkers. Because of my employer, I'm also afforded a 401k. And again, in the time of COVID, I want to remind everyone how valuable that is. Myself, again, as well as my coworkers. My company works very hard in the community to support the community, and not only that, but educate consumers about safety and regulations on a daily basis. Again, I also want to remind everyone about the issuance of the launch site that we use to safely and securely have a place to enjoy fireworks. Again, education is a huge factor. Community support is a huge factor in my business. And I also want to remind everyone of the hard work and diligence that my company puts into Nye County, creating new jobs and supporting the economy and working people in Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller in neutral.
To testify neutral on SB 227, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no more callers neutral at this time.
Thank you very much, Broadcasting. I believe Mr. Dizak is on the line and would like to testify in neutral.
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Again, Mike Dizak for the record. I'm your state fire marshal. I am testifying neutral, and as I stated earlier, I'm not the author of this bill. This was, something that when I looked at, I said, oh, okay, if we're going to do this, then I've been adopting standards as long as I've been here, and state fire marshals before me, we adopt minimum standards, whether they're the ICC codes, whether they're NFPA standards, whether they're IFSAC training standards. We say, okay, these are good, and there's your minimum. And we adopt the minimum codes throughout the state that says you can be more stringent, but you can't be less stringent. And I believe that's the intent of this, is to have some base platform to say you can do these things, but you can't be less stringent than what that base regulation is. I'm not a big fan of fireworks. As someone in the fire service and law enforcement community, consumer fireworks cause a lot of fires, and Senator Hansen was correct, is that whether they're coming from tribal nations or whether they're being sold in Pahrump or up in Humboldt County, the effects are the same. We deal with them the same. I don't have numbers for you to say this is how much we spend as a state in fighting wildfires that were started with illegal fireworks. I would put forth that we can adopt regulations. The enforcement, in my opinion, especially in a place like Clark County, should remain in Clark County for the most part. If I'm asked to do this and I'm given the reasonable resources to do this, I'll do my best. Apply things fairly. That's what we do with the building codes. And it's the same thing. I didn't write those. I didn't write those building codes. I didn't write the American Fireworks Standards Laboratory. If you want, I guess, a reference, look at Underwriters Laboratory. We accept their stamp, and they test it, and they're an individual company. If you have a UL listing, then it's legal as far as the fire marshal goes for sale in Nevada. Again, I'm really here to answer questions directed to me, and again, I'm testifying in a neutral position.
Thank you very much for your time today, sir. And with that, I believe that we have finished all the testimony. Vice Chair, any additional comments, and then we'll move on.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for hearing Senate Bill 227. I appreciate your and the committee's time. As you've heard, Nevada has a checkerboard of different laws and ordinances about fireworks county to county. Some counties do not allow them at all. Other counties, like Clark County, require that only what's called safe and sane fireworks can be sold. And then some other counties have much broader, looser ordinances about fireworks. I think we all enjoy fireworks, but a statewide unified fireworks law would certainly lead to less incidents of property fires and forest fires, because so often we see that these stem from fireworks that are purchased in the areas where the laws are looser and more liberal in terms of the kinds of fireworks allowed. As to the issues with our brothers and sisters on the native tribes, I believe that we as a legislature need to take the first step in terms of requiring that the minimum standards be safe and sane fireworks for private individuals to own and use. And then once Nevada has taken that step where safe and sane is the minimum standard, then certainly we can I think, have a much stronger argument to our brothers and sisters on the tribes that they should enter into compacts with us in terms of trying to make sure that only safe and sane are sold across Nevada. Again, thank you for your time, Chair. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 227, and I will welcome Senator Settlemyer with Senate Bill 253. And thank you, Senator, for being patient. We're happy to have you here, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee on Government Affairs. Sorry to keep you here so late, so I'll try to make this quick and easy. The bill comes about, I've had a couple experiences with individuals where sometimes they don't utilize their alarm correctly and it goes off. And interesting enough, there's a concept that boards, county commissioners can actually impose a penalty on the alarm system contractor. That really doesn't do much to dissuade the individual who might repeatedly making the alarm go off because they're, not giving the proper codes to, after hours staff that are cleaning up a particular building, or they themselves keep malfunctioning, and it, goes after the actual, rather than going after the actual person making the error, which to me would actually curb the bad behavior. Instead, they're actually finding the alarm system contractor. And that's what this bill is looking to do, is make sure that unless it's something that is attributed to bad installation on behalf of the alarm system contractor, that you wouldn't find them. You'd actually try to then allow them to go after the individuals that are making the mistakes. That's the first part of the bill within sections 1 and 3, respectively. Within the last portion under 4, the concept is again, if there's an error with the alarm, system, program, whatever, you should be trying to call that service rather than the contractor's number that is, currently being told needs to be on it. So in that respect, they're trying to state that the advertising by contractor installed system is not required to include the number of the contractor's license if the advertisement includes it in an internet website or somewhere else. And that's the gist of the bill. If it'd be okay with you, Madam Chair, it would probably be best to have Holly Bergman real quick give a quick rundown of some of the issues and concerns before we broke into questions, unless you wish to begin questions at this time, Madam Chair.
Your call, sir, however you want it to proceed.
If possible, then if we could allow Ms. Bergman to be brought into the queue from ADT,
okay.
Vice President.
All righty. Broadcasting, would you please do that?
Hi. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Chair Dondero Loop and members of the committee for this opportunity to express our strong support for this legislation. My name is Holly Borgman, and I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs for ADT Security Services. With more than 145 years of experience, ADT is the leading provider of security systems. We have about 20% of the market. The next biggest has maybe 4%. And then after that, you have a whole lot of mom and pops in the business. So on behalf of our 7 million customers, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. False alarms, they're a big issue for our industry, for first responders, for our alarm customers. And because of that, we support efforts to reduce false alarms. They're an unnecessary strain, and we're doing everything we can to drive those numbers down. And part of that is encouraging people to use their systems properly. The studies have shown that 80% of false alarms are caused by 20% of users. Unfortunately, some of these users, it takes a little bit of time, and they have different thresholds where things convince them to use their systems properly. And what we found and we support is that local governments that issue a series of escalating fines to people who chronically misuse their system encourage customers to use their systems a little bit better. So most of the alarms tend to come from commercial facilities, maybe where staff hasn't been trained, or maybe someone has a sitter and they haven't taught them how to use the system. And so if a city starts finding chronic misusers, they will change their behavior. Unfortunately, some municipalities in recent years, in the interest of expediency, have enacted programs that actually find the alarm companies as opposed to the users for the users' false alarms. And this is like sending a speeding ticket to General Motors. It does little to change the user's behavior. It denies the users the right to confront the city and their accuser, so it denies them due process. If it was an alarm, a genuine alarm, but they're accused of a false alarm, they have no way to appeal this. And it is up to the alarm companies, many mom and pops, to foot the bill for these false alarms and attempt to get reimbursed by their users. Senate Bill 253 also modernizes rules requiring the listing of license numbers on advertisements. So ADT will cut one ad and we run it in every market nationwide. There are 30-some states that require us to list our license number each time. So what happens is when we cut an advertisement, we also have to list 30 different state license numbers, sometimes license numbers and addresses. And it's gotten to the point where the information isn't usable for the customers. We would so much rather be able to modernize this law, which was likely drafted before the internet existed, to be able to say, visit ADT.com for license information, as opposed to listing all of our licenses. We support the requirements that we be licensed and that we provide license numbers. We just want to modernize the way that we deliver that information to our customers. And in closing, I'd respectfully like to ask the committee to vote in support of Senate Bill 253. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Senator Settlemyer, do you have a follow-up before we go to questions?
I don't know, Madam Chair. Ready whenever you are.
Thank you very much. All right. Questions from the committee. Senator Neal, I see you ready for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm like super multitasking right now. So I have two questions, but Senator Settlemyer, what's going to be the effective date for the bill?
Thank you, Senator Neal. I appreciate that. And as with all legislation, if you don't have an effective date within it, it automatically defaults, I think, to June. I could be wrong, and that's really sad as many years as I've been in this process, but it just defaults to the standard effective date.
Okay. And then my second question is on the, what is it? It's section 4 on the advertising for the contractor, for the advertising by the contractor. What was the reason for this language? Just trying to get a better understanding.
Absolutely. This is Senator Settlemyer, and I'll take the first stab of it. However, I may ask Holly to be a lifeline and answer it correctly if I mess it up. But the impetus that I've run across is that a situation occurs where there's a problem. And so then you automatically are trying to figure out who to call. Well, if you have a contractor's license, very few people know how to turn that into a phone number to call. So in that respect, it'd make more sense to include a phone number rather than the particular contractor's license or a web link, since so many people now are so used to basically breaking out their smartphone and then figuring out, going to an internet website. So we felt that was a better way to get them to the correct person to try to resolve any potential issues. But again, it might be wiser to allow Holly Bergman from ADT to answer that question.
Thank you, Senator. If you sometimes see our billboard advertisements, you'll look at the bottom and you'll see a list of all of the license numbers, and it's just too hard to find your individual state's license number in all of the text. Or we actually submitted for the committee's reference an example of one of our commercials where you can see the license numbers scrolling through at the bottom, because to get through 30 state license numbers in a 30-second spot, it's difficult to do. We want to make sure that customers can find the information and can actually access it. So it's not like one of these pharmaceutical commercials where it's just going through a list of symptoms that you or other things that you might get as a result of the medication. We want people to be able to find our information. And we just think it's more meaningful if we can tell them, visit ADT.com or ADT.com/licenses, or call 1-800-ADT-ASAP for that license information. I think it's how people find information now, as opposed to listening for an advertisement, maybe on a radio or on a TV ad, with your pen and your paper in hand, waiting for them to get to your state to write down the license information.
Thank you for that. I don't know, I'm kind of working backwards because I had a question on section 1. Because fine and fee, where you're saying the county shouldn't impose it, is this because, the police will come out and if there's like a false alarm, and what's the current fee that they're charging to go out on a false alarm from the county?
This is Senator Settlemyer. For the record, I'm going to pass that one off to Holly because I don't have a lot of it happening in my cow counties, to say the least. Not many cow tripping alarm issues, so I'll turn that over to her.
So each program is locally designed and administered to reflect the individual needs or the character of that particular area. So in some areas, the fees might be $10, $20, $30. In some, it might be $200. It really depends on what the local government has decided to do. For us, we're sort of agnostic about what the fee should be. We feel like the city is best equipped to determine how to move the needle within their community. But we found, based on studies, that the best way to curb customer behavior or to change customer behavior and curb these false alarms is to find the user in some meaningful way. And so we leave it up to the cities to determine how much or how that money is used. But we want to make sure that any program that is enacted is meaningful. And so this type of legislation, which assigns the blame to the party at fault, so if we install a bad alarm, then you can fine ADT. But if it's the user, the fine goes to the user. This legislation has actually passed nearly, I think in almost every case, unanimously in California, New Jersey, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Louisiana, Iowa, and it's pending right now in Georgia. So we've found that it's meaningful guidance that helps the local governments, but still will help to drive down the number of false alarms. We want to make sure these programs remain meaningful.
Wow. Madam Chair, can I have one last question?
Absolutely.
So if my child, right, let's say I have, he used to be 12, and I had ADT, and he sets off the alarm and he falsely does it, I would get charged if this bill passed.
You currently would get charged. So it depends on your city. If you are in some areas in southern Nevada, they require video verification or on-site verification that an alarm event has occurred before the police will come out to respond. In other areas in the state, they will come out regardless of if it's been verified by a video. What we're saying is that if we had nothing to do with generating the false alarm, the fine shouldn't be sent to ADT. If we install bad equipment, then sure, send the fine to ADT. But currently, most cities have something on the books that they'll sometimes give you the first one or two free.
But you want it to be charged to me, right? The homeowner or the business.
We'd like to continue to have it going to the party at fault. So if the homeowner has generated the false alarm, so say my parents visit and they don't enter the code incorrectly and they generate a false alarm. Well, that is on me, the user, and I need to train my parents better on my system. However, if ADT installs a sensor that keeps falling off and generating false alarms, then it should go to me because it's all about modifying the customer behavior to get them to use the alarm system properly.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'll let other people ask questions if you let me have another round.
Thank you. I actually have one right now while we're on this subject. So I don't know, I think you said where you were located, but if you're not here in Nevada, let me just tell you about the winds here in Nevada. So when the wind blows, you could actually have your alarm go off, and through no fault of your own. And by the way, I've had it happen. So I just struggle with, we're going to be charging for something that you cannot, I need to, my parents aren't alive anymore, but I need to train my parents better. I don't know. And maybe that is just a little bit raw to me. I don't know.
This is Senator Settlemyer, so let me get a crack at getting into trouble first with you, Madam Chair. I think that maybe she could provide information from other states that sometimes have winds that are a little bit more strenuous than us, such as Florida, I believe, passed similar legislation. And maybe we could ask her for some information in that respect. It's a very valid, concerning question. When the wind goes off, I understand what you're indicating. And I think it really comes down, it's not a question of penalizing, it just comes down to how best can we ensure to reduce the numbers of false alarms? And the concept of the bill, in my opinion, is to try to figure out what's the best way to do that. And finding a corporation continually when the problem may fall within something you may have more control of. However, I remember my parents and I had no control of them using technology correctly. But nothing finding, if a particular county develops a program to fine the company, well, then the company may just decide to no longer allow those individuals to have that product. They may institute a policy. And for some of these products, they also provide a degree of security for aging parents, and we don't necessarily want them withdrawing those items. At least that's my opinion, but I'll allow ADT to follow up on that with more details.
No, thank you, Senator. And Chairwoman, you raised an excellent point. I'm based in South Florida where our company is headquartered, and we do have substantial winds as well. So it's of concern. But of all of the local ordinances that I've seen, I've not seen one that doesn't exempt what they call acts of God. So if there is a storm, if there's a fire, when there are tornadoes, that sort of thing, we know that that is outside of anyone's control. And the local ordinances seem to have planned for this and reflect those.
Okay, thank you very much. Committee, other questions? Vice Chair Orenshaw, please.
Oh, thank you. And my question for probably Ms. Borgman or maybe the sponsor, but in Nevada, are the kind of fines that alarm companies get charged in line with other states? Are they higher? I just wonder, are they vary by county?
So in Nevada, there are tough alarm response laws on the books in the Las Vegas area. They are stricter than most in the country in terms of requiring verification before the police will respond or before fire departments will respond. So they need to have a guard go out and ensure that someone is breaking into a house or a house is on fire before first responders send service, which is outside of the norm, I would say. But in terms of fees, I would say that they're on par with larger cities in Nevada are on par with the larger cities in the U.S. Rural are on par with rural. Generally, there's a little bit of a discrepancy there, but I would say that they're on par. And there are currently no municipalities in Nevada that are levying false alarm fines against alarm companies. So no local government would need to change the ordinance right now.
A brief follow-up, Chair.
Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't find my arrow for the mute. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. And then, Ms. Borgman, that policy you discussed in the Las Vegas area about requiring someone from the alarm company to, I guess, verify it's not a false alarm before police are called, would this bill change that policy, or would that be left unchanged?
It would not. I think that it's something that the alarm industry, we talk a lot about, the pros and the cons, but for us, we're not attempting to change that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Further questions? I just have one additional question about the license numbers. So isn't there a federal requirement to run those license numbers as well as states? Am I wrong?
No, only at the state level.
Only at
Please identify yourself for the record.
Ms. Borgman, would you identify yourself for the record, please?
I'm so sorry. Holly Borgman with ADT. It is my understanding that this is a state level requirement.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Additional questions from the committee? All right, well, not seeing any. Senator Settlemyer, would you like to make any comments, or would you like me to go to support?
I think it probably makes most sense to go to the phone call support. There are some individuals that have some concerns on the various issues that you committee has already raised, which we'll try to figure out a way to address to the best of our ability. So okay. I look forward to the questions.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. All right, broadcasting, then we'll go to support.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support of SB 253, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 781. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Chair Don Daraloop. For the record, Chris Ferrari, Ferrari, here on behalf of ADT in support of Senate Bill 253. Coming in to bat a little cleanup here on some of the questions raised, and I want to thank all of you and Senator Neal, Senator Don Daraloop for the questions. So it's important to clarify what the bill is and isn't doing. So it does not impact, raise, create any fees, alter fine structures. All of those things are things that exist, and I'll give a personal example. I live in Reno, and I have an alarm system. I have a door that blows open here and there. I have come home to find cops in my house a couple of times because they do dispatch the police department, and for that, I am charged a fine. So as a consumer, I'm aware of that fine. It's part of my contractual agreement with the company, and it's the city, the municipality's choice as to how they levy that fine. As Ms. Borgman indicated as well, I want to clarify, and to the chair's comments about wind and natural issues, there are exclusions for that. And again, all of this is at the local level. The bill is really about preserving the consumer choice for services, and I want to share one example with you that Ms. Borgman has shared with us. The reason for the bill: if the current process is altered, and to the example about finding somebody who purchases a GM vehicle and finding GM for their speeding ticket, what happened in one Georgia county is that there were several, as Ms. Borgman indicated, small mom-and-pop style alarm companies. They had some customers who were repeat offenders, and that county decided to start sending the fines to the alarm system provider, even though it wasn't their fault. Their system was intact and working properly. Those companies had to move out of that county, and that limited consumer choice and increased the cost for security services. Passage of Senate Bill 253 will preserve that while retaining all local control at the municipal level. If, to Senator Orenshaw's questions, they're concerned about the level of fees raised for false alarms, that's certainly a question that can be had with local municipalities. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
We are currently taking support on SB 253. To testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to opposition.
To testify in opposition of SB 253, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 888. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Madam Chair, members of the Senate Committee on Government Affairs, my name is Vincent Guthrow. That's spelled V-I-N-S-O-N. Last name is Guthrow, G-U-T-H-R-E-A-U. I serve as the Deputy Director of the Nevada Association of Counties, and we are opposed to SB 253 as it removes county authority when addressing false alarms that trigger response from law enforcement and other first responders. Local governments try to educate homeowners, residents, and businesses on curbing false alarms that can bog down our emergency response. And while local governments use this authority sparingly, we still need the ability to penalize if a particular location continues to have numerous response calls because of malfunctioning alarm systems. NACO appreciates the sponsor offering to potentially work with us on language, but as written, we are currently opposed. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for allowing me to testify.
Thank you very much.
Caller with the last three digits of 442. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Chair Don Daraloop and members of the committee. This is Nicole Willis-Grimes with the Ferraro Group. That's N-I-C-O-L-E, last name Willis-Grimes, W-I-L-L-I-S-G-R-I-M-E-S, and I am testifying in opposition on behalf of the Nevada State Contractors Board. In its efforts to help protect the health, safety, and welfare of Nevada citizens, the Nevada State Contractors Board is responsible to ensure that all licensees are compliant with NRS 624.720. The Contractors Board strives to educate homeowners and urging them to use licensed contractors to do work on their homes. In doing so, homeowners have more options for recourse should there be issues with the quality and completion of the work product. We encourage consumers to always ask for verification of the license number. They should not have to call an office or track down a website to get the number or verify whether a contractor is even licensed. Advertising of a contractor's license in Nevada lets the consumer know that the business they contract with is regulated by the Contractors Board and that the Contractors Board is a resource for homeowners in case they have issues. There are currently over 16,000 licensees in 41 primary classifications and approximately 130 subclassifications. A licensee who installs alarms would most likely hold a C2C and/or a C2D license. There are currently 76 C2C licensees and 501 C2D licensees in Nevada. This total number accounts for approximately 3.6% of all licensees in Nevada. Additionally, the board estimates that of the over 16,000 licensees, approximately 5,946 or 35% hold licenses in other states. The proposed legislation under SB 253 provides an exemption for licensed alarm companies in Nevada. This exemption represents for only a small percentage, or 3.4% of its licenses, and a small percentage of licensees that hold licenses in other states. The bill also provides an unfair exemption to the law. Additionally, advertising includes a multiple number of platforms to include print, radio, television, internet, billboards, flyers, work trucks, and business cards. The requirement of displaying or providing a license number in a licensee's advertisement is for public protection. The exemption provided in the bill is not to the benefit of consumer protection, as the consumer would have to call the business or visit websites, determine whether the contractor is even licensed, much less try and find their license number. In conclusion, the Nevada State Contractors Board is opposed to SB 253 in its current form, as it cannot support a carve-out for one specific industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional callers in opposition?
Yes, Chair. Caller with the last three digits of 666. Please slowly spell and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last three digits of 666. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you. You may begin.
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Warren Hardy, W-A-R-R-E-N, last name Hardy, H-A-R-D-Y, calling today to represent the Urban Consortium, which is made up of the cities of Reno, Sparks, Las Vegas, and Henderson. We stand in opposition to the bill as written. I was able to speak with the proponents of the bill today and appreciate their time. This creates a unique situation for us in that we have a private sector business that in part has their business model based on services that are paid for by taxpayers. We understand the concern here. We understand the issue that's happening. We feel like the better venue perhaps to deal with this would be in conversations with the local government agencies that provide those services, or the city councils or county commissions that represent those police departments that respond to these calls. We're willing and happy to continue these discussions with the proponents of the bill, and appreciate Senator Settlemyer for being open to our concerns. But as written, we're opposed. Look forward to continuing to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller.
Chair, you have no more callers left in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. Can we go to neutral, please?
To testify neutral on SB 253, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. Closing comments, Senator Settlemyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for a very lengthy day. In the respective, I'm sorry it took so long. I will do my best to address any issues and concerns and follow back up with you with any possible solutions and see if they meet with your acceptance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate Ms. Borgman weighing in with us. And with that, I'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 253, and we will go to public comment. Remember, you have 2 minutes, and please listen to broadcasting. They will give you the instructions on how to access, and you can discuss anything that we did not discuss in a bill today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. To testify and public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, to speak in public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers wishing to speak in public comment at this time.
Thank you very much. So with that, we are finished with our meeting today. Thank you all for hanging in there. We're going to be having a little bit longer meetings as we move forward because we do have a deadline of April 9th. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody staying, and we'll adjourn, and we'll see you on Wednesday at 3:30. Thank you very much.